Should your work speak for itself? Yes. But your work doesn't have a mouth. It can't speak. So today, we're going to talk about how to do office politics and advocate for yourself in a way that doesn't make you a snake.
Let's get into it.
So today, we're talking about office politics.
Here we go.
Exciting.
Yep.
So Kyle, should your work speak for itself?
Wrong question.
Oh.
Yeah. Should
wow, he told me to ask him that.
Gotcha. I set her up. I think we could debate like should. Mm-hmm. I think most people will probably come down on the side of like, yeah, in a perfect world, like the work speak for itself. We could have that conversation. I think the more important question to ask is, does your work speak for itself? The answer is no.
Well,
and I think that job performance does not equal promotion, or job performance does not equal reward.
Yep.
As much as people think it does. It's not about a should. It's like people have this mental model that if I do good work, good things will happen to me in the workplace. Mm-hmm. That is a single factor in that decision to get promoted or get rewards. It is not the only factor, and it's not as big of a factor as people want to believe. And so if you think your work does speak for itself, you're sabotaging your own career.
Yeah, I actually do agree with that, and I was kind of ready to fight you on this.
Yeah.
But I think it's true. It's like what I said earlier, like your work can't speak for itself because it's work.
Yeah.
It's like, your projects will just sit there and languish unless you're pushing them forward. And if a tree falls right in the middle of the forest, does anyone hear it? Like, no, same thing. So I do agree with you. And I think what is frustrating and what people find so like abhorrent about office politics is that people who are good at it get farther than people who are not, regardless of that key element of job performance. So you could be very good at your job and very good at office politics, and you will get farther than somebody who is very good at their job and not good at office politics.
Correct.
Which, fine, that's fine.
Yeah.
But in the flip side, where somebody is bad at their job and good at office politics, they still might get farther than somebody that's good at their job and not good at office politics.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people are like, that's not fair because you're bad at your job. And you're getting promoted, you're getting rewarded, you're getting bonuses when you don't deserve them because you suck at your job.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, and this is something that I've grappled with a lot, like that's also part of the job. It's unspoken, it's not in the JD, and you're certainly not getting expressly paid for it.
Yeah.
But your ability to build buy-in, to get people on your side, and to convince other people that what you're doing is important, is valuable, is necessary, that's an important part of your job. And it's shitty, but it's true.
Yeah, and let's explore this shittiness together. That sounds like a fun journey.
Great.
But I want to break this down into two buckets right now, which is there's like self-promotion, which I think is a form of office politics in some way, where you're making sure that the work you do is known by your manager so you can get promoted.
Advocacy,
advocating for yourself.
Yep.
I think that's very important. And that is where when people think, well, I did a good job, shouldn't that be enough? You have to understand your boss does not have visibility into everything you're doing. And a lot of like your job, if you want to get promoted, is like making it known how great the work is.
Yep.
And you need to be doing that. So there's like a self-promotion bucket. Then there's I think when people hear office politics, what they really think is like schmoozing. Like you're not even talking necessarily about work. You're just like boys with, the finance leader. And so they're going to vouch for you. And like, you're just really good at like making people perceive you as competent, and maybe you're not actually competent. And that's where people can get very frustrated with exactly what you laid out, which is like, this person actually sucks at their job. And it's unfortunate, but it is the reality, I think, for some workplaces. Now, the flip side is like, it's understanding what your workplace rewards. I hope you work at a place that does put a big emphasis on the work itself. But I think even in a perfect workplace, not 100% of the focus will just be on the quality of the work. It will be some mix of self-promotion, self-advocacy, and this like office politicking, be able to build buy-in, because there's a version of that that's actually a really powerful skill.
Yeah, and I think like having the work speak for itself is, as an ideal, is actually not to be like, wow, I'm like going against what I thought I was going to be advocating for in this.
It's the best type of episode.
This is crazy. It's not like, the work shouldn't speak for itself.
It can't.
It's not that it can't. Like, I don't even think that's the ideal that we need to be working towards. And I'm really having like a hard time grappling with the fact that I'm feeling this way. But like, okay, imagine that like you're the world's best engineer or whatever, and you're engineering, a website about a dog bathing service.
Yeah.
But like your company is a SaaS company, right? Like you could do really good work and it could be in the completely wrong direction. You need to build buy-in, make sure that everyone knows why you're doing a project and why it's a good thing.
Yep.
And like, if you're just like off doing good work in a random thing in a random direction and not moving in the same direction that the company wants, like that's also bad. And I think that building buy-in and getting people to understand your impact is actually like one of the most important things that you can do in your job.
Yeah.
Not just because you're getting recognized, but also because then like you're making sure that the team and the business is moving in the same direction.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think so. The big, I think, controversial or spicy take that we've already identified early is like how well you do your job doesn't mean promotion. It is a small to medium sized factor of it, but it does not mean promotion. I think that is like hard for people to hear because your reaction is that's not fair, and you're probably right.
Yeah.
But it's reality. So like lock that in. You as a listener, like just understand that doing the good work is only half the battle. You have to make sure that you're promoting the work yourself in a way that doesn't come off as negative, which we can talk about the gender biases and gender stereotypes there. And then also like building buy-in with other people. Those are important. What I think you're also bringing up is this idea that if you want to grow in influence and in rank inside a company, a lot of that work is strategic and it is cross-functional. To get a company to focus on a big project requires not you to just do your piece of the puzzle, but it's to motivate marketing to do their piece and finance to do their piece and corporate operations to do their piece. And in order to do that, the actual work is politicking.
Yeah.
It is influence. It is getting people to see a bigger picture, understand why it's important, motivating them. And so that is actually where I think this idea that my work should speak for itself is a fundamental misunderstanding of what your job is. Once you get there, your job is influencing people.
Yeah.
So to say, I'm not going to do that, well, yeah, okay, then you're not going to get rewarded, and you're not going to be put in a position at a company to influence people, which means you're likely not to get promoted. The more senior you get, the more people you have to influence and build buy-in around.
So can you opt out
of
office politics?
I think you can, totally. It's just like you'll probably be stuck in quotes because you might just like this, doing your lane, like just doing one thing really, really well. And you're probably not going to manage people. You're probably not going to get promoted as much as you might like. And that might be totally fine with you. So I think you can opt out. I just think know what you're opting out of. There is always trade-offs. And so if you opt out of it, you're probably opting out of career advancement.
Yeah. So like, how would you advocate for doing office politics in a way that's like not gross?
I mean, good question. I think let's go back to these like two buckets for like self-promotion. I think this is something that everyone struggles with a bit. I struggle with a little bit, but maybe not as much as other people. I do want to bring up what we were talking about earlier, which is this gender gap between the benefits of self-promotion. So there's been tons of studies around when women self-promote, there's actually like backlash societally and economically because that goes against the stereotype of like what a quote unquote traditional woman should do, which is like, like let the work speak for itself and like don't make too much of a noise. So I don't have good advice on how to navigate that as a woman because I'm not one. And that I think is a really unique, difficult, frustrating challenge in the workplace because you have to butt up against this bias that society has. For me, I think trying to work in consistently a cadence with your manager where you're highlighting really big wins and just really deeply understanding that your manager is not this omniscient, omnipresent God that understands every message you're sending to everyone and every project you're moving forward and the little small things you're doing behind the scenes. And you might wait a million trillion years hoping they recognize you for that. They're not going to, unless you tell them about it.
Right.
And I don't think it's out of malice that they are like intentionally ignoring you. It's just they have their own job. They're super busy. They don't see what you're doing. So I think my number one tactic is to bring this up on a consistent basis with your boss and almost get in the habit of showing these smaller wins that you think are impactful but unrecognized and making sure they see them. That's my tactic number one. I mean, not to be like, and the woman in the room, please respond. Like, how have you thought about this in your career and that maybe that challenge?
Yeah, so I think that for women and people of color have a unique challenge in the workplace, which is that they're not necessarily the minority in any certain space, but they are like, there are biases against them. And so I think that despite how I initially was thinking about this, I actually think that office politics is that much more important for those groups because we are already fighting against biases. And so in order for our work is not going to speak for ourselves because it's for itself because you already have a bias against us. And so in order to kind of account for that, you need to use office politics to your advantage. Now, you're totally right. Women specifically are their traits, when they are adopting traits that are more masculine or a little bit more forward, are typically punished for that. They're viewed as pushy, they're viewed as bitches. And so that's been proven, right? But can you use your stereotypes to your advantage? I think so. So building really strong relationships between your team, other team members, whether that's other women or other men, I think that using the stereotype that, they're quieter, they're more consensus focused, like, okay, then build consensus. And I think like using those traits to help propel you forward. I also think, unfortunately, that office politics is one of those things we just have to be constantly thinking about. And so if you can anticipate pushback ahead of time, because you're probably going to receive it because you're, the only woman in the room or whatever, anticipate, I think this person's going to be upset about this thing that I've said. How am I going to respond to that? Already anticipating that, knowing that, feeling super prepared. And then there's a chance that you can kind of negate some of those biases. But again, I think it's like, it depends on it's a different thing in any different environment.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like good advice, but.
I think the hope is too, like, workplaces recognize this themselves and that like employers eventually change and make it more equitable. And, I think it's like it's not an either or, it's like an and. Like, yeah, we hope that happens. And while you're in the workplace you're in, you might as well try to leverage these tools to your advantage. I want to bring up this study from MIT that I think highlights another element that is inequitable and interesting. So they did this study, MIT, where they reviewed thousands of performance reviews and then the subsequent promotions that came from them. Women would score higher on performance reviews, but received 8.3 lower percent scores on potential as men. And they were 14% less likely to get promoted because of that. And so understanding that sometimes people get promoted, and maybe like a majority of times, people get promoted on potential and not on actual work done. And so again, I think another mental model to think about as you're navigating your career and trying to advance is, okay, I need to do great work, but I also need to convince people that I'm capable of doing other work at a really high level. And I need to convince people I'm high potential. And that is also a missing part of, I think, how a lot of people think about their career. Really important and clear, like, that is why people get promoted. It's potential.
Well, I think it's also like, how do you de-risk someone vouching for you? And I think I don't remember when we were talking about this, like, nobody gets fired for hiring McKinsey or whatever it is. Like, make yourself IBM, right? Like, how do you de-risk your relationship with them and them like being your sponsor or your mentor or whatever? So if you can reach out to people and build these relationships, not in a gross, snaky, like, I want you to promote me or advocate for me and therefore I'm going to like kiss your ass.
Yeah.
But in a like, I'm actually really interested in the work you do. I want to be like you. Like, can you teach me? Can I work on projects for you, even if we're not on the same team? And then that de-risks their advocacy of you.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that with 2, 3, 5 different people in your organization, then you have these sponsors that when you're not in the room or advocating for you, that's office politics also, right? Like that's not you being gross. It's you working, the system so that people will continue to bring your name up when you're not there.
I mean, I want to bring up a personal story that you're involved in, so I hope you're cool with it.
Great.
We're doing this live.
Cool.
It was when we were working for Morning Brew Learning, and we were both trying to get promoted. And we might have talked about this on the podcast.
We have talked about it.
It's a perfect story for this, which is the feedback you received about a promotion, which you got, so shout out to Kaila, was that like the work is good, the work is great, but people don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And that is going to hold you back potentially from getting this promotion because like you need other execs in the room to champion you. Again, like right, wrong, or otherwise, that is what was said to you. Like, and then I think we had a long I remember this walk. We had a long conversation about this, which is pretty much this conversation. Like, I don't know, react to that and help the audience understand kind of what you were thinking. Because I think a lot of people have heard that same thing.
Yeah, I was pissed.
Yeah.
Pissed. Because I was working my ass off and I was like, I don't even have the time to do the office politics. Like, I can barely commute into the office because I need to be writing, let alone like getting coffee with people that I don't have anything to do with, like in the building. But the part that I actually ended up really agreeing with is like, so I was lead editor and I wanted to be director of content. That based on what those responsibilities are is a big leap. And like the way that our boss described this to me was like, it's going to be hard and you're going to make mistakes. And as you rise through the ranks, mistakes have bigger impact, bigger trickle down effect. And you need to have people in the room and in the business that are willing to forgive you for those mistakes or willing to understand.
Like trust you that like, okay, it was a mistake, but like
it's not
we can vouch. Yeah.
Like this isn't like this isn't the start of a trend. Like we can trust that she's going to fix it, that it's not that big of a deal. And so in order to do that, you need to have those relationships. If you don't have those relationships and you start messing up, like people don't have that goodwill with you that you can get beyond.
And if you mess up in that situation you're describing, that's kind of their first impression of you. If you haven't done the groundwork to like get to know them. So their first impression is like, oh, this person messes up. Yeah. Like this is bad.
Yeah. And what is it? It's like, it takes like 12 positive impressions to erase one initial negative impression.
Damn. Got to send a lot of slacks today.
So no, I mean, it was something that was like very formative for me. And I think I did start trying to be a little bit more present. And I will say, both of us were kept on when Morning Brew Learning was sunset. Yeah. And one of the reasons that, we were told was that we were very involved in other elements of the business. Yeah. And that's not to say that the other people that were let go weren't or weren't worthy or whatever, but we certainly had our fingers in a lot of pies, you know, and so it made it harder for them to let us go. And we'll be right back after this. Okay, back to the show.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story that I forced you to share live. But I obviously I know the story and I think it's so instructive because I think it is a common thing, but it's like such a frustrating thing to like hear said to you. Like the work isn't good enough. You have you have to do more and be more. And I think a reaction that could be bad is like, okay, I'm going to like still do all the work and I'm going to like do all this other stuff. I think that can lead to burnout. I think the more like possible reaction or like the more reasonable reaction is like, okay, I'm going to I'm going to do 90% of what I was doing before.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to get crystal clear about what are the biggest impact, like what are the big levers I have to pull. And I'm still going to pull those. And I'm just going to like say no to some of this like BS stuff that doesn't move the needle. And with that now time open, I'm going to do this other stuff that someone is telling me is actually more high impact, which is forming these relationships and self-promoting. So I don't want people to think like, oh, we're just telling you like do everything amazingly. Like, oh, and then it'll work out. I just think if your goal is promotion, you have to realize like you're going to have to spend some time not doing work, which feels counterintuitive, but it helps.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like seeing this as somebody who's been in that position, but it's like looking at your boss doing that, that shift from like, I'm doing so much work to now I'm doing slightly less work and kind of schmoozing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is very frustrating because that stuff that you're no longer working on trickles down. And it's like, well, now you're delegating to me some of the bullshit. And like, I'm watching you go on coffees.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? But it's like, and so I think if it's important to also message that around, right? Like, I'm not going on a coffee date with this random executive because like, I want to like get coffee and like chat. I'm doing this because I need to get a new project pushed through. And I know that they are going to be in the room deciding which projects to, fund.
Yep.
And I want to give them an opportunity to advocate for me.
Yeah. I think it's great advice, and particularly around like messaging, and like it's a tricky situation. You want to make sure that everyone understands and is good, and like you are moving your team forward as well. I think I have to do a specific call out for remote employees as well, because they're in a, I think, particularly difficult spot, not when it comes to the quality of their work, but this self-promotion, be in the room, get a coffee type vibe we're talking about here, because they're not in the room and it's hard to get a coffee. And we're not doing Zoom coffees anymore, apparently.
No, thank goodness.
The pandemic, we all overdosed on that. So I think there's some interesting like stats around, visibility, that visibility gap we were talking about. And I think it's particularly more difficult for remote employees. So if I am a remote or hybrid worker and I'm listening to this, I need you to think about what is your strategy for self-promotion. Like, you should not leave this week or this month without, if you want to get promoted, a really concrete way of saying, how am I going to get my work visible to the broader organization? And I'll give an example from the show. We just released an episode on rating your job, and we built this pretty sick template that not a plug, but it is a plug. Go check it out. It's a rate your job template, and it's like this really well done report card. It was a cross-functional project. We got it on the HR Brew website. It is gorgeous. I bet if you asked how many people at Morning Brew know that we even did that and that it's out there, it's like
low.
It's like 10.
Yeah.
There's 200 some people here. Like, that is something that we should be talking about broadly at the company. Like, hey, like, everyone knows Per My Last Email, but we're also venturing into these like creating templates for our audience. And like, this was a really great effort. We had design, build these beautiful designs. We had Lance get us on the HR Brew website. Obviously, HR Brew agreed to sponsor us and be on the website. Like, it was really this like really cross-functional effort. Jen Walsh helped with the promotion, like shouting out other people that helped you create it. But I think that is important to do. And I use that as just a concrete example so our listeners can think about some examples from their own career, their own job. Like, oh yeah, I did do that. Ask yourself how many people you think know about it.
Yeah.
And if you think it's cool and important and is indicative of the quality of your work, it's on you to make sure people know that. And so spend some time making sure people do.
Yeah, and I have another example that I think is something that I've heard people hate, like talk negatively about, like, this is why I hate office politics.
Okay.
And I actually think it's a very useful thing.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about meetings, not just any meetings, okay? I'm talking about building buy-in and using meetings to do that. So, for example, we are building, this is a little sneak peek, we're building a new games hub on morningbrew.com. And our games is like a huge portion of our web traffic. Everyone loves our games, but there's things we could do to improve it. So we've been working for the last few months on making a better, more intuitive hub for our games. And so there was this one big meeting that we had that was basically getting final approval for a certain strategy that we were implementing. We had 3 or 4 meetings beforehand with individuals that were going to be in the meeting.
Yeah.
Then we had the meeting, and then we had post-meeting meetings. And it's just like that. If I was looking at it like, why am I having so many goddamn meetings around one 30-minute meeting? I'd be like, this is a ridiculous waste of my time. But it was not, because the pre-meetings that I was having with every stakeholder that was going to be in that meeting, except for probably our president, Devin, was like, no, actually, I even had them with him, was like, messaging, okay, how do you feel about this? How do you like this? What are your pushbacks? What are your concerns? So I'm getting understanding from every single person that this is the right thing to do moving forward. Then we pitch it, we present it. I've already checked the temperature in the room. I already know everyone is aligned and likes this
Right.
But there's still some things we have to talk about. We still have to iron out some details. So when we have that discussion all together, and then afterwards it's like, okay, now there's some people that don't need to be in the room. They've already like given their stakes, or they've already decided that they like it or they don't.
Yep.
How do we come together then after that and build what's the next steps? How do we react to this? Blah, blah, blah. It was probably like 4 hours of my time for a 30-minute meeting. And if I had just had that 30-minute meeting, it would have been a disaster because there were so many iterations that we had to go through until that 30-minute meeting that like, I think that's one of those things like, oh, office politics is the worst. And like, no, it actually can be really, really helpful. Like I'm building buy-in. I'm having conversations. I understand how each different person likes to be spoken to and likes to like understand what projects we're working on.
Yep.
One person needs data. One person likes to see it visually, you know, like let's sit down and open a Google Doc and like write down our next steps. And that helps me get what I want done.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a perfect example. One, like you're not doing this for every single project you ever do.
No.
It's understanding what are like the big ones that really matter to the company, that matter to you personally, that you need a lot of buy-in, and then deploying that strategy. So I think we're not saying, just put a bunch of meetings on the calendar for everything. It's about knowing what's important. So I think you did an excellent job there. The second thing, and this is like what is the frustrating part of the work should speak for itself, is like it flies in the face of everything we know about human nature. And to your point, you said like, I had to understand how other people want information presented to them. It's kind of selfish to say the work should speak for itself and the way I present it to you, you better like it. Okay, but some people don't come to the same logic that you do. And so, it is on you to understand how someone else wants a message received. And then if it is important to you that it's received well, you need to do that work. That is the work. And so saying like the work should speak for itself, you're just like not actually being thoughtful about your coworkers. And so I think that's a really good mindset shift is like, if I want this to land, I have to build buy-in and understand how other people want to hear it. So I think that's a perfect example. I want to go to one more kind of train of thought I have around office politics and self-promotion. And it's around explicitly asking for promotions. So we said at the top, like, the work won't speak for itself. I think we generally agree based on obviously the tenor of this conversation. So Accenture did a study about executives and how many executives just point blank will ask for a promotion. Only 37% do. So 63, pretty good math, shout out. 63% hope it happens. It doesn't happen mostly unless you ask for it. 59% of the people that did ask for one got one. So over half of the people that said, hey, I want a promotion, I'm angling for a promotion, they end up getting it. 65% of the people that did ask said it was helpful. And so again, like you're leaving potential money, career advancement, what you want to achieve in your career, if that is what you want to achieve in your career, you're leaving it on the table if you don't develop these skills. Like you need to get comfortable asking for what you want, talking about the great work you've done, and it might feel uncomfortable, of course, but like you could either not do it and be comfortable, or you can get a little better and get what you want out of your career. So I just think it is really important. Like if you want to achieve these things, you're going to have to self-promote.
Yeah. And I think you can do it in a way that feels not shitty to you. And like we've talked about this in the past. We've done plenty of episodes on this. On advocacy and on making sure that like you're not feeling gross, but you're still putting yourself out there. So I think that's great advice.
I want to add one more thing too.
Okay.
It's not just about you. So I think where you can be really impactful in someone else's career is helping them advocate for themselves or advocating for them when you do know the quality of your coworkers' work. You've seen like great projects that they've done. You see the small things they're doing every day that no one recognizes. Be a good person. Like make sure that the people that need to know that know that. And sometimes it's even more powerful when it doesn't come from you. If someone's like, hey, just wanted to let you know, Robert, like Kyle did this thing that was like super helpful and like, that means a lot. And so I think where you can be advocates for your coworkers and making sure that they get the recognition they deserve, like that's also really powerful.
And that's still office politics. Like you not only are you advocating for somebody else, but you're building a better relationship with that person that you advocated for. You're saying, I see you, I see the good work that you're doing. And, there's a chance that that relationship will continue to develop and they'll vouch for you at some point. So to finish up, I have a quick little game.
Okay. Ooh. Say more.
So I have 3 scenarios.
Okay.
And I'm going to give them to you, and you tell me either how you would react in an office politic framework.
Oh God. All right. Let's do it.
You're vying for a project internally. And there's a few people that this guy who's in charge of it can give it to. This guy that's deciding loves golf. Do you, knowing this, invite him to a round and pitch your involvement during that golf game?
I wouldn't, just because that I don't play golf.
Okay, well, let's say it's a thing that like a basketball game or something, you know, like would you invite somebody to an event or to an external thing in order to get a project internally?
I wouldn't, just because it doesn't feel authentic to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that isn't something I am comfortable with or would do. If I was serious about it, like I would just schedule a meeting with this person and be like, hey, I know you're thinking about who to give this project to. And it's something that I would really want to do, that I think I'd be great at it, and I could deliver a lot of value to the business. Like, can I set up time in a week to explain why? Or like, can I explain why right now? Like, I would go about it that way. I would make my intentions known of what I want. I wouldn't do the thing like, hey, come to a basketball game. And then like second quarter, I'm like, so that project, yeah, John, I'm your guy, right? Like that just, it's not my style.
Yeah. Okay. What if he was like, okay, let's go to a round of golf and you can pitch it?
I'm like, sure, okay, you invited me. I'm not going to say no, but like, why? Can I just do it here?
Yeah, that's very fair. For the record, I think I would react the same as well. Okay, this one a little dicey, and I apologize in advance. I am not setting you up.
Kayla.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, you are a boss of 2 team members that are in all measures completely equal. One is a man and one is a woman.
Oh, God. All right, our show's canceled. Thanks, Kayla.
Same scenario. Guy has a project, and he needs a consultant for a project. He's asked you, give me one of your 2 employees. Again, they're across all measures equal. Now, here's the important part. This guy is a sexist.
Okay.
Who do you give him?
I give it to the woman. No further questions. No further comments.
I actually think this is really interesting because it's like it's not like, okay, this guy is known to like enjoy working with men more than women. Do you
That's a problem. I mean, like, I'd go to HR.
Yeah, for sure. Let's say HR is like, we love this guy. You're fine. You're protected. You can't do anything about that part. Okay. All right. Forget it.
Third scenario.
Okay. All right. Whatever. Okay, a boss gives you a task that she is obsessed with, but you know that it won't work. It won't be successful. She says, I need you to do project X. And you're like, I think this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. There's no way this is going to work. Mm-hmm. Do you push back? And she's like, I don't care. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Do you push back more than normal, or do you work hard on a project that you know will fail?
I mean, one, I don't think you can know a project will fail. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I would do is like check my own biases. Like you should go in with an open mind. Mm-hmm. Even if you're like feel very strongly something will fail, I don't think you can say definitively this will 100% fail. You could be wrong. I've been wrong many times in my life.
Many times. Yeah.
Many times. Hopefully not that last answer, but many times.
I can vouch for that.
So what I would say is like, hey, I'm team disagree and commit. Mm-hmm. If at the end of this conversation, you say we're doing this, I'm all in, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability to make sure it has the best chance of succeeding. But I want to stress test this idea. Here's my concerns. Mm-hmm. You lay out the concerns. If they're like, heard, don't care, we're doing it, then I think you do go all in because you could be wrong. I think the next question is, how are we measuring success? Mm-hmm. How do you know it's going to be successful? You know, get them on record for that. When can we check back in to see if we're tracking towards that success metric? And then it's like, okay, you're going to give it your all. And you don't like, if it's successful, great. You tried and this is wonderful and it's helping the business. If not, you've articulated what success is. You have a check-in date. You see it's not successful. And then hopefully at that point you have more information. You kind of have that conversation. And if it goes away, it goes away. That's how I'd handle that situation.
Yeah. That tracks. That's good.
All right. Nice.
All right. Well, so work doesn't speak for itself. You should advocate for yourself. You should promote yourself, and don't be an asshole while you do it.
Cool. I mean, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, I think this is a really important topic, and just like want to say one last time, it's an uncomfortable topic because you are skirting this line between what should be rewarded, what shouldn't be rewarded. A lot of people feel uncomfortable doing some of this quote unquote politicking. So I hear that, and I think we're all working on doing this better and doing it in a way that's like ethical and helps other people and feels good. At the end of the day, the quality of your work does matter. It's just not the only thing. And I hope this episode gave you some things to think about on how you fill in these empty space around the quality of your work that also deserves to get some love. Let's roll the credits.
Let's do it.
Our producer is Michaela Heck.
Our technical director is Uchenna Ogu.
Sammy Aviles is our senior operations manager.
And our president is Devin Emery.
This show is a production of Morning Brew.
Thanks for listening, and we'll advocate for you next week.
Ooh.